Our very first big story this morning moves from the world stage into a deeply personal tragedy that unfolded right here in Nigeria and has also rocked the global sporting community. Former two-time heavyweight boxing champion Anthony Joshua was involved in a serious road accident on December 29, 2025 on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. The crash claimed the lives of two of Joshua's closest team members and his strength and conditioning coach Sina Ghami and his personal trainer Latif Ayodele, both of whom were with him in Nigeria at the time. Joshua himself survived with minor injuries and has been discharged from hospital.
Nigerian police have charged the driver of the vehicle with multiple offences, including dangerous and reckless driving causing death, as well as driving without a valid license. Charges that have renewed a national conversation about road safety and accountability. To help us unpack the implications of this, we have in the studio with us sports journalist Wale Scott, who's been on with us. I think you were also on during the week, if I'm not mistaken, because I saw you. And I was so excited to see you. That was on Wednesday.
Yeah, I've been here for a while now. Yeah. The African Nations Cup countdown. So
fantastic.
I'm going to be here for a while.
So, Wale, let's talk about what we have here in front of us. The Anthony Joshua case has just put the spotlight on Nigeria, not just on road safety, but also on our services. There's plenty of talk about Nigeria lacking the basic services to actually protect people. But then again, just this morning, we had very sad news. And I think you even broke that to me as I walked in. Do you want to give us the brief on what Anthony Joshua's decision has been henceforth? I
think basically he's saying that every time he goes into the ring, the guy's thought comes to his mind and he just doesn't think he can fight anymore. I think that's sad for us because Anthony Joshua should have had a fight with Tyson Fury.
We were looking forward to
this. And they both were supposed to actually do a test bout, different people, and they come together in about May or June and have the major fight. But the only thing delaying was Tyson Fury wanted the price. And they were looking towards either the fight should take place in Saudi Arabia or Qatar. And Tyson's price was not ready yet. But Joshua was ready to fight.
Right.
And you know, the sad part of the whole thing, what really hurts the most is that Latif did not plan to actually come to Nigeria for the Christmas or for the New Year.
That's his trainer?
Yes. He actually came to watch his diet, Joshua's diet, and make sure he gets the right diet.
Right.
He doesn't overdo it.
Because he was still in training.
Doesn't come back to the UK bloated and all that. And that's why he was here. It wasn't like he was here to have fun.
So it was on a work trip.
It was on a
work trip.
And then there's something I've noticed about Nigerians. And as sad as I shouldn't say this, I'm a Nigerian. I have nowhere else to go. I have no other country. And I got people who send me messages and are saying Nigeria happened to Anthony Joshua. Nigerians are the only people who demarket their country on a steady basis. There's this guy who's been a fan of mine for like forever. And the guy sent me a message and said, Nigeria happened to Joshua. And that he's sure Joshua is regretting he's a Nigerian. For the record, I'm not calling the guy's name, but for the record, I blocked you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I blocked him already. Because the truth be said, how come France didn't happen to Lady Diana? King Charles' ex-wife. How come France didn't happen to her? How come Spain didn't happen to Diogo Jota and his brother? How come is Nigeria happening to you? I think that attitude and that mindset should clear for Nigerians. These things happen. I don't know about the speed at which the response team got to the place, but Lady Diana died, and there was a response team almost immediately. Diogo Jota died, and there was a response team. So don't let's blame.
A tragedy is a tragedy.
Everywhere.
And at the risk of making a case for Nigerians, I think that when you have been lived here long enough and all your life here, you've seen the lack of care for human life and the way that when it comes to swiftness of emergency response and the conditions of the road and, you know, the services, public services that should be available and is not available to you, from the healthcare down to education, there is that saying of, you know, don't let Nigeria happen to you. So for the case of Nigerians, I feel like that mindset is there. But this was, for all intents and purposes, a tragedy. Nobody wants this to happen. Nobody cared for this to happen. And even if emergency response had arrived on time, those two, Latif and Ghami, God rest their souls, it was instant. It was a massive, you know. So there's nothing that could have been done. Maybe the way he was transported Joshua and the driver should have been done properly with the right paramedics and all of that. But we're thankful for life, but also there's a tragedy here, and there should be some kind of care in how that has been, the rhetoric behind that. But let's come to accountability. The driver is now going to be being charged for reckless driving and charged for murder. What's your take on that? Is that the right step? And what does this mean now that the world is watching and watching Joshua, who is larger than just a Nigeria boxing, but also is the UK, Nigeria, the world at large? How do you think this should play out?
I don't know. I think there's too many questions being asked and too many answers that we don't have. For example, the driver had been driving, as we heard, had been Joshua's personal driver every time he's in Nigeria. So that's not the first time he's taking Shagamu and back to Lagos.
Because he always does that.
Yeah,
goes home every year.
Two, have the police done the job the right way? Considering the fact that Anthony Joshua is not just a Nigerian, he's a brand of boxing. He also fights as a Nigerian / UK citizen. So it's going to be very serious. But the question is, did the police do the right thing? In any situation like this, the first thing to have been done was check the alcohol contents in the driver. Was he drunk? Did he have over the limit of alcohol he should have had to be driving a car? And then to hear that he actually didn't have the right driver's license. He hadn't renewed his driver's license. I'm stunned at that Joshua would let someone, unless he did not know, would let someone who doesn't have the right driver's license take him interstate.
Yeah.
That's
Scott, tell you what, let's take a break. We aren't done, but we're going to have our break now, and then when we come back, we're going to talk more about this when it comes to the psychology of Anthony Joshua now that he's deciding to retire from boxing. So let's do that break. We'll be back with this conversation for Breakfast Extra. Stay with us. And you're welcome back. It's still Breakfast Extra, our very first hour here, as we discuss the case of Anthony Joshua in Nigeria here. The accident that happened only just last week, and how the eye of the world is on Nigeria when it comes to so many things, not just services, not just sports, but also how, well, this will affect the world of boxing onward. We have Wale Scott in the studio here with us, a very renowned sports journalist. Good to have you here. Scott, let's take a look at the psychology of this. Now, he's made his decision. He says that he's no longer...
Sorry, forgive us. I understand that Favour Itua is also joining us as well. Favour is a sports correspondent here with News Central. Favour, a very good morning to you and Happy New Year to you. It's the first time I'm seeing you this year.
Happy New Year, Judith, and of course, Happy New Year, Mazino. Great year already.
Thank you.
We're also talking about what happened last year, but hopefully we'll have a better 2026.
Hopefully,
better 2026 indeed.
Favour, I'm coming to you. Just let me just ask this question, which was hanging from before we went to the break with Scott here. The decision to retire from boxing right now. So as a boxer, you've met many contenders. You prepared for all of these fights, but this you were very unprepared for. You've taken punches, but this is a different one. Exactly how does it work in the mind of a person who decides to say, because of this trauma, I'm no longer going to box? Walk us through what you think is going on in his head.
The obvious, of course, the obvious. Latif was not just his trainer, he was his best friend. And these are the two most important people in his career. And that's why he says every time he wins a belt, or every time he sees a belt, he remembers those guys, even when they were alive. So imagine now they're dead. These are his best buddies. These are the only guys he hangs out with, he works with, he rolls with. This, after his family, this is his life. These are people who make up his life. And you can imagine losing a coach who is not very close to you. That affects your career at a point. And then Joshua came out to say, listen, I'm not fighting again. Now that statement is vague. It's vague because you're not fighting again in 2026, or you're not fighting again forever. We haven't been able to clarify that. But the fact remains that mentally it will affect anyone. Joshua, these are his buddies. These are all he has after his family, and you can imagine what he will do to him. It is the obvious. He probably might not fight again. That's the truth.
Do you agree, Favour? Because, I mean, looking at Anthony Joshua's career, there was a dip at some point, but now he's started to gain momentum just after the fight with Jake Paul. Do you think that it's going to take a while, or he would never return? I feel like this is just another arc in the story. What's your take, Favour?
All right. For me, I think that Anthony Joshua might actually, stay back from boxing for a while, but that he will not fight again, I don't think that will happen. Anthony Joshua is one person that does not give up. He might even use that as an inspiration to keep fighting for his friends, his coach. I mean, these two gentlemen have been with him through thick and thin, even the times that he lost some of his fights. And then getting back against Jake Paul, they've also been with him. I think that might just be, for him fighting because of the two persons that died during the crash. But he might take a while, but I don't think he will call it a quit in his career. That I think Anthony Joshua will not do at the moment. But of course, psychologically to tell on him, because anytime he goes into the ring or goes into the boxing gym to spar, he would always remember these two persons who were always by his side. To teach him what he knows, what he should know, and help his conditioning towards every bout. So, but it's a big loss for him, big loss for his family, and also the families of the persons that have died, because they will also remember that they once had their colleagues, their friends, their family and loved ones alive, coming to Nigeria, then having to face something that probably should have been avoided according to some, but it happened, and then coming to back to base and saying that this had happened. But I think that also the legacy would continue. I think Anthony Joshua might also do a lot to remember them, maybe a statue or something that just to tell them these persons are part of me, and even though they are no more, they might just be an inspiration to keep going.
Favour, a couple days later, you were at the scene, if I'm not mistaken. You also followed the vehicle to the station where it was held. Tell us what you found out in your experience.
All right, I went to the scene on Tuesday. The crash happened on Monday. Okay. And getting to the scene, Lagos Ibadan Expressway at the Bakun area, not about 500 meters away from the filling station that is popularly around that area. First, we saw debris of the car. It was by the side of the road. Yes, the truck was no longer there. And while I was trying to get eyewitness reports, immediately the federal safety guys came around and continued their investigation. And when I approached them, they said they wanted to also get eyewitness reports. To ascertain what really happened, because the first story that came out, we got a story of a tire burst. The second story that also came out, overtaking, overspeeding. But my interaction with two eyewitnesses who confirmed that indeed there was a tire burst, and immediately the driver was swerving and went onto the truck. Now the truck was not on the road. It was the lane is about 5 lanes. 4 lanes when you look at the Lagos Ibadan Expressway. So the truck was parked just outside of the road. It was a soya bean truck that wanted to offload, according to the federal safety zonal commanding officer who spoke to me. And then the vehicle lost control after the tire burst, according to the eyewitness report. Then we rammed into the truck, and the truck bounced the vehicle back to the road. That's according to the person who spoke. And when it bounced it back to the road, that was why you saw after the match that the vehicle was just by the divider, the road divider, compared to when you look at also where the truck is, because a lot of persons have been asking how come if it hit the truck, the car was found at that part of the road, because the vehicle went into the truck at shoulder level, and then the truck forced it back, onto the road, and that's why you have the fatalities we saw. Maybe, and if the truck was not there, the permutations and whatever we've been talking about is it might go onto the other side. The other side has shops where some of our northern friends have the suya spots where they sell suya. So imagine maybe if it was not there, it probably would have gone over, because the impact of the vehicle did push the truck inside, and that's to tell you exactly what happened. And 4 passengers were in the vehicle. The 2 passengers, one seated beside the driver, and the one just behind the passenger seat. These are the persons that died, and Anthony Joshua was rescued, and including the driver.
Joshua, Favour, many thanks for that. Let me come to you, Wale Scott, here, and just talk about the handling and just the effect of it. You were talking about how the police has not done enough, but seeing how Favour has recounted his experience just covering it a day after the incident and on the international stage, what would you like to see play out in terms of investigations and charges and prosecution? You
will agree with me that when you are driving and you have a tire burst, that's one of the hardest things to do. It's hard to actually control the vehicle. And if that's like what Favour just said now, my tire burst is a new story entirely, I didn't know that. And if the tire burst, then I think to a large extent, we can't totally blame the driver. Like I said, the only way I can blame the driver right now is to say, okay, good. Did he have an amount of alcohol in his system? If he did, well, okay, yes. You were drinking and driving. So that's a different case. But
Right.
if it was normal, his blood was all right, there was one called on it, and it was the tire burst, I think the guy, I'm sure he's going through as much as Joshua is going through.
Right. Because
nobody wants to have an accident and people die.
you said that the driver had been long serving Joshua. Every single time he'd come in, he'd be the one to
And
drive
nothing
Joshua, and nothing had happened. Could it just be all the elements and all the odds were just stacked against them in their favor? I hate to do this, but it just seems so. A tire burst, an overtake, a truck parked by the side of the road, swerving and trying to, just so much. We don't know what the real account is, and I don't know if Joshua is in a right frame of mind, to give his own account as well. But if you were to, and it looks like all the odds were not in their favor, and this was a tragedy, what would be the future?
I think Anthony Joshua, I'm sure his state of mind now will probably blur, because he was asked and he said everything is just blurry. Maybe he wants to forget it. We don't know. Maybe he just wants to remember it. But he says it's just a blur. I don't remember anything. The only person that can give us a true account is the driver. However, let's be a little compassionate.
Yes.
I'm sure we can't imagine what the driver himself is going through right now.
Yeah.
It's not easy to drive a car. People die in that accident. No matter how abnormal he is, he's probably beating himself up right now. That's the driver. So he's not in a good frame of mind either. I'm sure if you ask, I'm sure whatever he is now, he's just dumbfounded and just staring. He's feeling as bad too as Joshua is feeling too. So I pity the guy right now. I really do, because I can imagine. Trying to play the devil's advocate right now, I think the guy is going through much more than he should be going through right now. I don't think he's happy on an accident.
I'm sure he is.
The grief is just wild.
Let's try and round this up. Favour, I wanted to ask you, what happens to his titles? Where does he retire at? What happens now that he's decided, well, for now, not to box anymore?
Well, I don't know that report if it's true, because some are saying it's an AI video. Anthony Joshua has not officially confirmed he will not box anymore. But one thing I know for sure is that he would take a while for him to come back. Don't forget, he's lost so many title shots.
Yes.
He's trying to come back again, starting with Jake Paul, which of course is not it's not a belt kind of bout. It's just probably for me an exhibition. So maybe he would take time out and then try to talk to his families and try to also relate with the families of the deceased and see if it's something he can do. But I think he's still very young. When you look at boxers who are still boxing even in their 30s and mid-30s, he might decide to come back, but not anytime soon. Also, looking at the circumstances, maybe the first thing that would be in his mind is let's look at burying the disease and trying to be there for the family. I've also heard, Wale Scott talk about the circumstances of the driver. Yes, it's possible for a driver to have been driving you for years, but it takes maybe one mistake or one distraction, because we know we drive every day and we might not be 100% every now and then. So that's why it's also good that we try to pay absolute attention. The Federal Safety has also said the way they were able to tell that it was overspeeding is because of the impact of the vehicle to the truck. It's 100 km/h on that expressway. Even if at 100 km/h, if your tire bursts, yes, you most likely will lose control. So a lot of things have been surrounded about, what happened and what will happen, what happened next. But I just hope that, we'll take more measures. Aside the fact that Federal Safety got there 3 minutes, 4 minutes early, we also talk about the ambulance in the country. I know ambulance services can do better. Yes, Federal Safety was there, but they might not be able to do a lot of things as regards immediate response, emergency response in terms of treatment or how to treat this person. So if we have our ambulance, around that expressway, plying the road every now and then, because we always have cases of crashes. Just some days later, we also had a crash along the last part area of that particular expressway.
Oh, yes.
So that's to show you, that Nigeria itself, we need to also be proactive and then also try to respond on time. Yes, the toll lines may work, but some are saying in Lagos it's swift, maybe in Ogun State it's not that swift, but whatever the case may be, we need to take lives seriously and also try to avoid future occurrences as regards accidents like this.
All right, Favour.
Joshua, so again, our hearts goes out to the family of Ghami and the Ayodele family, the loss of their sons, their friend, and of course a relative. It's hard at this time, and also our hearts goes out to Joshua Anthony as well at this time, losing friends for years as well. We hope that all of this, all the tragedy as it unfolds, at the end of the day, we hope that this will be, everything will be settled, and those who need to be held culpable will, and to Anthony Joshua, at the end will come out, and go back to the ring, hopefully. Many thanks to Wale Scott for joining us here in the studio. Wale, I want to say thank you so much. And also thank you to Favour as well for taking out the time this morning to come on.
Favour, is there something different about your face? Did anybody notice?
He's wearing glasses. We all saw that.
There's no going back now.
It's the new year.
New year, not so new you, because that means your eyes are going bad now. But welcome.
No. It's very clear.